Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It's so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I am excited to be back because we've got some really good topics today. We've got some great stuff to talk about, to chat about, and to break down. There's a lot of pretty big things happening in the gaming industry in the last week, so we've got some good ones, guys. We've got some really good topics to talk about. So what are some of those topics that we can discuss today? Well, first of all, of course, probably the biggest news, I have a feeling something we're going to get a lot of questions on today, is going to be about PlayStation VR2. We finally have some info in regards to pricing, in regards to launch timing, and all of this sort of stuff. So Sony announced today it is launching February 22nd, 2023. It's going to be $549 in the US for the standard edition. It's going to be $599 for the Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle, and of course that price will vary by region, but those are its prices in the US. A lot of discussion online about that, about the price. Is it worth it? Is it too expensive? Etc., etc. We're going to break that down in just a second. I'm sure some of you are going to have some questions about it, so we'll go into it there. Whenever I do, I'll break down more of my thoughts once we actually get to some of your questions about it. So we've got that info. There's a new report from Jason Schreier that came out yesterday that's pretty spicy. It has to do with Embracer, who recently acquired, Square Enix's Western Studios. Can you guys see this? It's telling me no data. Hopefully you guys can see me. It says no data, but that could just be an error on my end. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see me, because that'll be a bummer if not. I'm on a wired connection, so I don't know what's going on if it's really not sending video. Let me know in chat if you can see me. But anyways, new report from Jason Schreier. And what he talks about is that Embracer has closed down, I don't know how to pronounce this, it's Onoma or Anima, I'm not entirely sure. It was a recent rebranding. That studio used to be known as Square Enix Montreal. They have closed down that studio. So I saw some people getting a little confused, thinking that this was Eidos Montreal. It is not. This is the studio that was making mobile games, right? They made Tomb Raider Go. They made Hitman Go. This is not regular Eidos Montreal. So I saw some people getting pretty worried because that studio has so much, history in making a lot of games that people love. It's not that studio, guys. Formerly Square Enix Eidos Montreal, they are still around. Regular Eidos Montreal. It's just the one that was just Square Enix Montreal that's gone. The other thing that came out of this report, besides the studio closing, which is always unfortunate to see, is that Eidos Montreal has reduced the scope of one unannounced game. So one game that they have not officially announced yet. They reduced the scope on it to save money. And then the other thing is they're going to cancel a game. They're going to outright cancel a game that hasn't been announced yet. So that's pretty big. Reducing scope and canceling a game, never great to see. Plus closing down a studio, not great to see. And then the other piece of info that came out of this that I think is maybe the most interesting in terms of discussion points is that Eidos plans to work with Xbox on games in the future, including Fable. Now, this is the second formerly Square Enix Western Studio that is making an Xbox game. There's also Crystal Dynamics, of course, that's helping the initiative with Perfect Dark. So that's pretty darn interesting to see. Two of those studios now making Xbox games. I'm sure we're going to go into more of it with your guys' questions, so I'll wait to give too many thoughts on that. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is the biggest launch ever for the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, think about how big Call of Duty has been. That is incredible, right? At any point now, anytime there's going to be a new record for Call of Duty, it's going to be mind-blowing because of how long that franchise has been a juggernaut. We got a little bit of data points around it as well, not just that it's the biggest launch, but thankfully Activision gave some actual details. So it sold through over $800 million in 3 days. That's going to be over $1 billion very, very rapidly, right? Probably over $1 billion within its first week. Its first 7 days, I bet you it passes $1 billion in a week. That's absolutely insane. It beat the previous record set all the way back in 2011 by Modern Warfare 3. So think about that. That's how huge Modern Warfare 2 is. that it took this long, from 2011 now to 2022, to break that record, and it has been broken. Another piece of info they gave us is it's the highest digital sales ever for the series at launch. So not only is it the biggest launch ever for the franchise, it also had the most amount of digital sales ever for any of their games at launch as well. So pretty amazing stuff there. Just a couple more headlines off the top, and then I'm going to get into your questions, guys. Sony announced that God of War 2018 is now sold over 23 million units. They did that on the webcast for their earnings. Looks like the PC version is sold around 2 to 3 million, give or take, but it's in that window. 2 to 3 million copies for the PC version, and overall 23 million. Great to see. And then the last thing I'm going to break down here before we get to your comments and questions, here's the results for PlayStation's earnings for last quarter. Okay, so that's going to be for the July through September quarter. 3.3 million PS5 consoles shipped, and it's at 25 million lifetime. That means it's completely flat. That's the exact same amount that it shipped this quarter last year. So not growth in hardware, which we were hoping to see, right? We want to see these consoles, particularly PS5, which has had really bad shortages, get better at shipping more units. Unfortunately, that did not happen this quarter. I do think, however, they're going to have a really big holiday Q4, but this particular quarter, hardware wasn't that impressive because it's the exact same amount that they shipped last year. They sold 62.5 million pieces of software, including 6.7 million first-party games. This is down from last year for both first-party and third-party. Unfortunate to see, but as I covered with the Xbox earnings, I told people to expect this from whenever Sony came out, because I had some people being like, how can they, it's so bad that their content and services category was down for Xbox. And I said, guys, expect something similar for PlayStation, because the third party just has not been there this year. It's been a very, very rough year for AAA third parties. Nintendo's had a great year, but third party AAA, the EAs, the Activisions, the Take-Twos, been a rough year. And, platform holders get a 30% cut of all those games sold. So if the third parties are having a rough year, that makes it harder on these companies that are platform holders to generate higher revenue as well. So that was down. Digital sales accounted for 63% of games. So of every full boxed game that was sold, 63% of them were digital. 45.4 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. They actually lost a bit on PlayStation Plus subscribers. Subscription revenue, however, is up. So that shows you people moving into that higher subscription tiers on PS Plus, right, that they introduced. They're actually making more revenue off of it, but they did lose some subscribers compared to last year. And there was 102 million monthly active users for PlayStation. Okay, guys, that's your headlines off of the top. Really quick, if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, tons of new followers on Twitter lately. So in the off chance that this is your first time ever here, the way this works, it's a stream, it's a show, it's 100% driven by you. Your comments, your questions, you just drop them into chat, and I get to as many questions as I possibly can. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, there's a free method. You just type a question, whatever you want, and I get to as many free questions as I can during the chat. However, if you want to guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. Type a donation, whatever you want. It alerts me, and I immediately get to super chats. However, don't feel pressured or obligated to donate in super chat. It's just a way to help support me in the channel and guarantee that I get to your question. But I also answer tons of free questions as well. All right, guys, I think we're good. I think we're good to start diving in. Fill that chat up, because like I said, these are some great topics. I'm excited for this chat because I think this is actually better than what we've had the last few weeks. I don't know if turnout will be as good. Doesn't look like it so far. Not terrible turnout, but not as big, I would say, as maybe last week or the week before. But the topics, I think, are excellent. So let's get going. All right, we got a couple super chats off of the top. First of all, Split End 89 with a 2 super chat. What is up, Split End? Great to see you, man. Thanks for always helping mod the channel and being awesome. Saying, Carl Uve Dirty, man. Yeah, so Call of Duty. Absolutely insane. Kind of gave you my thoughts off of the top on that. Completely crazy. It's going to do over $1 billion probably in its first week. That seems very, very, very likely. This looks like, now we don't know an exact number because they didn't disclose the exact number besides revenue generated. However, my estimate and some other estimates that some people that I'm seeing post is about 10 million. It looks like it sold through 10 million copies in its first 3 days. You know how insane that is, guys? 10 million in 3 days. And to be clear, Activision specifically noted this was sell-through. This is not shipped. This is actually sold through to consumers. It looks like they probably sold 10 million copies in only 3 days. Now, some people might want to do the math and say, wait, the game's $70. If you do $70 times, divided by, or you take 800 million divided by $70, that should get you over 10 million, right? You should be like 11 plus million copies. Keep in mind, guys, there's going to be some editions that are more expensive, right? There's going to be some of those $100 editions. So you don't want to just go, oh, every copy was sold at $70. Plus, of course, other markets have different pricing models. So you can't just assume 800 million divided by $70. How many copies does that give you? You got to also factor in some of that other stuff, but it should be about 10 million copies sold in 3 days. That's out of control, guys. That is out of control numbers. Insane from Call of Duty. Maker of Chaos 12 with a 10 super chat. Wow, thank you so much. That's very generous of you, Maker of Chaos. Benji, is there a Patreon for you we can support your content? You provide a lot of good information and just want to keep supporting your content. Well, that's incredibly kind of you, just there for the super chat. Those are very much appreciated, Maker of Chaos. I do not currently have a Patreon. I plan on starting a Patreon sometime in the next month or two. I'm well aware that I'm not going to be able to completely make a living off of this Patreon. But I've held off for a long time, right? I've been doing this stuff since 2018 online, and I never wanted to be like one of those, let me put it this way. I was very cautious around taking money from people. The super chats I feel pretty comfortable with because this is more of like an interaction, right? You guys get an answer, we get to chat, we get to talk. So it's like, this is actually something that some people think it's worth paying for. Patreon I've always been a little nervous on because I don't do a ton of other stuff. I wasn't sure exactly how I would do tiers and stuff, Maker of Chaos. I do plan on doing one in the next month or two. It's probably at launch only going to be a $1 supporter tier. Again, in the future, I may add extra tiers if I think of some more stuff that I'm going to do that's going to be worth people giving more money to. But at first, probably just going to be $1 just as a supporter, just saying, hey, if you think my content's worth $1 a month to you, you can help out with $1. But we'll see, Maker of Chaos. There may be more in the future, but in the next month or two, I probably will get a Patreon going. Thank you so much. All right. Super chats are cleared for now. Thank you so much, guys. Randy Norman, Benji, Microsoft totally wanted to acquire Western Square Enix. I think it is very likely that going into the future that their games will be exclusive to Xbox or that Xbox will buy them. And then another part here from Randy, the second part of his question. It seems that Embracer is looking to make quick cash in the video game industry. I think it is very likely that they keep taking checks from Microsoft to have Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal to be semi-first party studios. Yeah, this is fascinating, Randy. So I tweeted out about this after Jason's article came out. I'm pretty confident now, and whenever I say confident, to be clear, I'm not saying in regards to insider information. I'm just saying in regards to reading what's going on, the whole situation around this. It seems very, 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 very likely to me that if it wasn't for this Activision Blizzard deal that's currently going on, Microsoft would have bought these studios. They already have now 2 of them making Xbox first-party games. That is very not typical, the way that this is working. Now, it's not super uncommon for other studios to help develop games. You see that actually all of the time, right? God of War Ragnarok, multiple studios are helping Santa Monica co-develop that. You look at Halo Infinite had multiple studios help on that. Like you look at Saber or not, is it Saber that's going to be helping them in the future? No, it's not Saber. It's my brain's not working, but other studios. You see Call of Duty, right? There was a bunch of different studios that were helping on that. The thing that makes what's happening here a little strange is that usually, not always, but usually those support studios are independently owned, right? Usually they're studios that are kind of on their own, and then they're getting a nice check from whether that's Sony or Microsoft, etc. And it's really worth it to these companies because they're independently owned, and that makes, them a much safer future. What's a little weird about this one is that these are two studios that are owned by another publisher, right? Like an actual legitimate publisher, not independently owned. Even back to whenever it was Crystal Dynamics doing it, that was Square Enix as a publisher. Now you have Embracer, who we know is a publisher, that also has these studios. It's a little weird. You don't see that super often. Randy, if they weren't tied up in this Activision Blizzard deal, it seems very likely to me that Microsoft would have bought these studios. They're already paying money for them to help make these games. Seems like they would have wanted to buy them in the IP. They clearly could not, however, right? I've been telling you guys this ever since the day that this deal was announced. I've been saying do not expect any acquisitions until this thing closes. Microsoft is not going to risk this getting shut down, and that has so far played true. It would have not looked good for them if they're in the middle of like a battle like right now. Think about it this way. What if Microsoft would have announced that they were buying these Square Enix studios, whenever they went for sale, and now all of a sudden, look at how much trouble they're having in the UK. What if the UK could shoot back at them? Hey, you're already trying to make this deal, plus you already bought multiple studios from Square Enix while this deal's going on. This, to us, looks like you're getting too aggressive with acquisitions, right? So Microsoft's going to hold off on that. They're going to do as few acquisitions as possible right now so they can just focus on Activision Blizzard and get that thing through. So that's why I think you did not see them buy them, but it looks to me like they would have. One thing that's super interesting here, there is nothing preventing Embracer selling these studios in the future. Nothing preventing it. So let's say Activision Blizzard deal closes. Microsoft gets the deal, whatever, it's locked in next year, right? Because they're forecasting it'll be done by about June of next year. Let's just assume that happens. We don't know, but let's assume it gets finalized. There's nothing preventing Embracer from after that being like, okay, do you want to buy these studios, Microsoft? They now fully own them. They can flip these studios and get more than they paid for. I'm not going to tell you that they are going to do that, but it is an interesting thing. Let's just say that Perfect Dark comes out. It's received very, very well. Let's say that Fable comes out. Received very, very well. And these studios do a lot of work on those games. Wouldn't shock me if you see, a year or two from now, whenever those games launch, if they're very successful, maybe you see Microsoft flat out buy these studios from Embracer for a premium. It's not impossible. It's really not impossible. Microsoft can do that. Embracer can do that. They could definitely sell these studios in the future if they want to. So, Randy, it's interesting. It could go either way. You could see them continue to just pay, to have these studios help them, but still be owned by Embracer. Or you could see Embracer flip them for a premium and get a lot more than what they bought them for and thus make a lot of profit off that deal. It's possible. It's really possible. All right. I think we had a couple super chats come in. Let me hit those super chats. Anthony Johnson here with a 5. Hi, Benji. No question, but please check your Twitter DMs for a DM from Merc Knight Pub from yesterday. Oh, I will check if you haven't already when you have the chance. Anthony Johnson, first of all, I very much appreciate that super chat. Second of all, I will. I'm the worst human being on planet Earth in regards to Twitter DMs. Anybody will tell you that, Anthony Johnson. It's something that I know I have to work on. I just get a lot of DMs, which isn't an excuse because a lot of people get a lot of DMs, but I get easily overwhelmed by them. And the mistake that I make, Anthony Johnson, is that I will see a bunch of DMs come in, and then I'll be like, okay, I need to get to these DMs. And the next thing I know, all of a sudden there's a bunch more, and I already put off getting those DMs. So now there's let's just say 20 DMs. And I'm like, oh man, that's going to take a while to reply to all those. And the next thing I know, I push that off and it becomes 30 or 40 Twitter DMs. So that's not an excuse. A lot of people get a lot of DMs, but I need to do better about it. What I need to do is I need to just hit the DMs as they come. When they come in, do not push it off because I know they're just going to build up. I need to just hit the DMs. So Anthony Johnson, I'm going to start doing that. You know what? I'm just setting myself a hard line. From now on, when the Twitter DM comes in, read, reply, boom. So I apologize, Anthony. I'm very, very bad about it. I will do that though, Anthony. I will check your Twitter DM and I will reply to you. Promise. Okay. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. Very, very generous. Hope you're doing good, Benji. Microsoft Game Pass grew with the few games Microsoft released. At the same time, PS Plus lost 2 million subscribers other day and date. How does Sony change this? This is something that is pretty interesting, Highlander. Game Pass does continue to grow while Plus is decreasing. Now, couple big differences between Game Pass and Plus, right? Game Pass is getting some day one launches. Even if they're not the big first party games that we want to see, they are still getting some day one launches, right? You're getting stuff like A Plague Tale. You're getting stuff like Persona 5 Royal, which I know isn't a day one launch, kind of, because it came on PS4 a long time ago, but I mean on the platform, right? It was the first day it was available on Xbox. It was on Game Pass. Saw stuff like Scorn. So they are getting some of these kinds of games, whereas PlayStation Plus does not do that. Now, Plus does have actually a pretty darn good library now. Whenever you go to that like middle tier where you get the catalog, the back catalog of games, I would say that if you don't buy a ton of games, because a lot of them are fairly older, but if you're not someone that buys like a lot of the big new releases, that PlayStation Plus catalog is really nice, actually. Like if you're someone that you don't own a ton of these, it's probably worth the price of that upper tier subscription to get access to all of these. But I do think just on the surface, Game Pass is going to be a bit more attractive than these Plus tiers still, just because you are still getting some day one launches. And as we know, games are more expensive on day one, right? Whenever Persona came out, $60, right? That's going to look a little bit more like a better value than getting games that a lot of them now are in that like $20, $30 range that are on the PlayStation Plus catalog. So I think that's part of it. I just think on the surface, Game Pass is just still going to be a bit more attractive than what PlayStation Plus is. The other thing to consider, Highlander, though, is that Xbox Game Pass is available on PC. That's a pretty big differential maker. So Microsoft had noted how console subscriptions had slowed quite a bit. They didn't give us an exact amount, but they said that it has slowed. So they have a lot more room for growth because they have all of PC to hit as well, right? Whereas that PlayStation Plus subscription is not a PC component, right? It's strictly for the PlayStation console. So that's something to very much keep in mind, Highlander. One thing that didn't also get covered is that they said the main reason that they lost subscribers, I was listening in on the webcast, I'm always in on all of these earnings calls. They specifically noted on the webcast that the main reason PlayStation Plus lost subscribers is because more people stopped subscribing on PS4 than they expected. They said PS5 PlayStation Plus attach rate is still very, very good, but PS4 is what specifically lost a lot of subscribers. This kind of doesn't surprise me. That PS4 install base now is getting pretty old. A lot of people are moving over to the new console. Some people maybe are just letting their Plus subscription run out until they're able to get a PS5. So Highlander, I don't expect that this is going to be like a long-term thing. Like you're going to see Plus just keep losing subscribers over time. I think they are going to start to ramp that back up. But I think that's kind of one thing that's hurting them right now. PS4 is really dying at this point. Like it's very much dying off. People's commitment to the platform, how much they're willing to spend on the platform is just nosediving. I think as PS5 install base grows, you'll start to see that, bounce back up. So a couple things to keep in mind there, but it is interesting. It is interesting that Game Pass continues to grow while Plus is declining a bit. But we'll have to see. I don't think that's a long-term thing. Benji here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Very, very generous. A lot of 10 super chats today, guys. Thank you. I really much appreciate that. Benji, why Sony seems to go all in on PSVR 2 despite the smaller market? We've seen Sony struggle to support the Vita and PSVR with AAA before. Can the PSVR 2 succeed long term? Okay, let's get into this. Let's get into PlayStation VR 2, its pricing. Is this going to work out or not? Okay, this is a bit of a fascinating question. Now, I've seen a lot of comparisons to the original PlayStation VR floating around, right? I've seen a lot of people be like, if you go for inflation, this is actually like, pretty comparable and all that stuff. One thing people need to keep in mind is PlayStation VR 1 was not a big success, right? I guarantee you that Sony wants PlayStation VR 2 to be much more successful than PlayStation VR 1. There's a reason why you stopped seeing first-party support on PlayStation VR1, guys. If it was a smashing, ginormous, out-of-control success, Sony would have made sure they were pouring resources into getting games on it. Same thing with third-party. If it was a giant success, you would have seen Activision, Ubisoft, all of these companies committed to making VR games. There's a reason it all dried up, right? Like, companies will go where there's money to be made. There wasn't money to be made on PlayStation VR1. I hate to say it. I owned a PSVR 1. It just did not do that well, guys. It did not do that well in the grand scheme of things. So I guarantee you that Sony wants PlayStation VR2 to be significantly more successful than PlayStation VR1. That's the only way you would commit this much resources into making another version of it. So I wouldn't think that's a slam dunk to compare it to PSVR 1 and pricing. So you don't want to do that. You just want to look at this as its own because you want this to do a lot better. Now, can it still be successful even at this price point? It can, right? So I sent out a tweet about this, and I was like, this is going to be a challenge for them. Now, I didn't outright say it's going to bomb. I had some people in the replies, it's Twitter. I had some people in the replies their tone felt like they were a little upset, like I was declaring this will bomb or something. It's not what I did at all. I just said it's going to be a challenge, because it is going to be a challenge at this price point in this sort of economy, whether you want to adjust for inflation or not. $550 is still a lot of money to a lot of people, right? It just is. Still a lot of money, or $600 for the Call of the Mountain bundle. And you have to own a PlayStation 5 to even play this thing, and that alone is $500. So you're looking at $1,000+ essentially to get into PSVR 2. I know it's not $1,000 for just PSVR 2, but to be fully in, you got to own that $500+ console, or $400, right, if you got the digital, and you got to own that $550 to $600 PSVR 2. I mean, that's a lot of money to a lot of people. Does that mean it can't succeed? I would say that does not mean it can't succeed. PSVR 2 is really going to live or die by games. It has to have games, right? Sony really needs to get first party supporting this. I know it's risky for them financially. They can't have a repeat on PSVR 2 that they had on PSVR 1, where you essentially saw first party disappear, right? Like, first party did, I love PlayStation. They did a terrible job supporting PlayStation VR 1 from the first party standpoint. There was some awesome stuff. Astrobot Rescue Mission, right? Like, there was some cool stuff. They must do a lot better about supporting PlayStation VR 2. They need to make it be that people need to get this item, right? PSVR 1, there was some very cool experiences on it, but I can understand why people would skip it, right? There wasn't a lot of those Half-Life Alyx level experiences, or what Horizon Call of the Mountain looks like it might be, or Resident Evil 7 on PSVR 1, and what Village will be on 8. It needs these big, awesome games, and Sony's going to have to take the risk. If they're going to put out a VR item like this, they're going to have to take the risk of, hey, we got to subsidize it with software. Like, we got to make sure that the software is there. So, Benji, to me, it's too early to say if PSVR 2 is going to bomb or succeed. I will be honest, the price point has me a little bit more cautious than I was. It's high. $550 to your average consumer is a lot of money. So we'll see, Benji. I honestly think it's too early to tell. I suspect launch is going to sell out. Like, honestly, I think all the launch units will sell out because there's just going to be enough demand there for launch. The big question with PSVR 2 is not going to be what it sells in those first 3 months. The big question for PSVR 2 is going to be, how is it selling 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, a year after launch? That is going to be the big tell. And the key component, software. The software must be there. So thank you. Thank you for that super chat, Benji. Few thoughts there. I'm sure there's going to be some more questions about it, but I think the key linchpin here on everything is the software, because the tech is there. People that have played it say it's absolutely fantastic. Technology side of things, it sounds like they've nailed it. The game's got to be there. Good tech is great, but it's not great without great games. All right. Super chats are cleared. Back to your free questions, guys. Javier asking exactly what I just talked about. Do you think PSVR 2 is going to sell out at launch? There's a report of Sony wanting to do like 3-4 million units produced or something like that. They are pretty confident. Javier, I think they will sell out at launch. I think the report was 2 to 3 million units. I can't 100% remember off the top of my head. This came from Bloomberg. It might have been 3 to 4. I'll be honest, I can't quite remember. Javier, I think most of launch shipments will sell out, even with this high price point that we're discussing, because I think that there will be enough people there at launch. Like I said, it's going to be how this thing's selling 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the line. That's going to be the question, Javier. Hopefully it's selling a ton, but launch I'm not that worried about. I think they'll sell a lot of units at launch, regardless of the price. Now, if this was like $1,000 for just the headset, I would be singing a different story. $550 is expensive, but I think there are enough hardcore people out there willing to buy it at that price point to sell through at launch. I just don't know if there will be enough, once you're out of your launch window, now you're getting to your more general gaming consumers. There are enough of those to still be buying it for that price point, 8, 9 months later. We'll have to see. We just don't know. Johnny G 2022 or 22 saying, "How's it going, Benji? The new Nibelian, better one in my opinion." No. So first of all, I do want to say thanks to all of the people that have come out and followed me since Nibelian left. I got the biggest single day in new followers I've ever had. Since I joined Twitter, I gained about 6,000 new followers in a day. That's pretty crazy to me. It's the most I've ever gained in a day. One thing I'm a little worried on, Johnny G, is that me and Nibelian are not quite the same. That's why I sent out a tweet about it, like right when this first started happening, because all of a sudden I saw my followers just blowing up. Like I was just getting alerts for hundreds and hundreds of new followers. It was just going like literally nonstop. I gained like 6,000 in a day. And that's why I sent out the tweet I did, because me and Nibelian are not the exact same. So I'm a little worried that some of these new followers think that me and Nibble will have the exact same account. You're not going to get quite the same thing. So if you're here and it's your first time, first of all, I'm very thankful for all the new followers. I do hope you stick around. However, to be clear on some things, and I know you're not new, Johnny G, but I'm saying if there is anyone new in this chat that came because Nibelian left and they're trying to figure out who I am, you're still going to get coverage on like the very big headlines, just like Nibelian did, right? You're still going to see, I've always done that. The really big stuff, the really big headlines, you're going to always see me talking about that. So if you're looking for that sort of stuff, I think you'll have a lot of fun. I think you'll like a lot of the content. However, where me and Nibelian are definitely different, Nibble was truly strictly a news aggregator, right? That's like what he did. He just aggregated all of the news stories and was just constantly tweeting links to all of these news stories, which is a super useful thing, right? Not knocking Nibelian for doing that at all. It was a hugely nice resource for people. You're not going to get quite that with me. I'm a little more selective on what I cover. I try to cover the big topics, the really cool stuff, and you're also going to get a lot more of sales and data stuff from me than you would get from Nibelian. Now, it's not going to be nonstop, super over your head. I purposely make things fairly simple to follow. I had someone being mean in a YouTube comment the other day. I talked about how I don't read the YouTube comments too much, but I do the chats, of course, but I had an alert for one, and so I saw it on my phone. There was no way to miss it. And some guy was saying how it was like, it's just surface level. That's actually intentional. Like, I try to make all of this stuff as digestible as possible, because here's the reality. A lot of people, a lot of gamers do not want to read a wall of numbers. They don't care. What I try and do is I try and make the sales info that I find fascinating as easily digestible for your average gamer. The person that's going to spend 0 time talking in forums about this, the person that's going to spend 0 time reading weekly Japanese charts, the person that's going to spend 0 time researching NPD data, right? I try and make this super digestible for people. What's the important thing for you as a gamer about this? Not for an investor, that's great too, but what for you as a gamer, why is it important that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 sold a ton of copies, right? Because it just shows you the franchise continuing to grow. I don't need to sit there and dive into 40,000 charts about why this is important to you, because you're not going to care. It's going to get like 10 likes, 15 likes, something like that, right? So for anyone that's new here, you're going to get some definitely similar stuff to Nibelian. Absolutely. You're still going to get the cool new headlines. You're still going to get the big news stories. You're going to get a lot of that. But just be a little careful for assuming that I'm strictly Nibelian 2.0, because we have some pretty key differences. I'm not really just a news aggregator. I also talk a lot about the data, social media metrics, that kind of stuff as well. So hopefully enough people, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that unfollow in the next couple weeks, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, what? I thought this was a Nibble type account, that unfollow. But hopefully enough stick around. They learn something and like the content. I think a super chat just came in. Let me see. Yes, Highlander here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. That's your second one. Do you see Call of Duty or Minecraft ever going PSVR? Yeah, Minecraft already is. I think VR is very niche. I have PSVR for PS4 and love a couple games, but not mainstream. I'm pretty sure Minecraft's already on VR, right? Am I forgetting something? Or mistake? I'm 99% sure Minecraft already has VR on PS4. So that's already there. And so is Call of Duty. For certain modes. Yes, it does. So Minecraft Highlander already is. You can fully play Minecraft in PlayStation VR. And even Call of Duty has VR modes. So, yeah, do I think that you're going to still see stuff like that? Absolutely. Now, is Minecraft going to get a PSVR 2 version? That's a fascinating question. That is truly fascinating, because we know that PSVR 2 is not fully backwards compatible with PSVR 1 games. We have found out that they can do free updates. Someone just came out and said that today. I don't remember if it was the developer or Sony themselves, but they did say today, we've wondered, right? Are these going to be paid upgrades? It is possible. It depends on the developer, but you can get a free upgrade to the PSVR 2 version. That is now confirmed. So Highlander, I wouldn't be shocked if you see a PSVR 2 version of Minecraft, because, you know, Microsoft really does view Minecraft as a just fully multi-platform title. They do not do anything in regards to like taking stuff away from any platforms on that game. So I wouldn't be shocked, you know, it might happen. You might see Minecraft PSVR 2 mode. That could happen. Wouldn't shock me at all. Call of Duty, I don't think you'll ever just get like, we'll see. I probably just lost the whole stream. Probably just lost the whole stream. I'm going to keep going just in case. Guys, I don't know what's going on with my internet today. I'm on a literal wired connection, so I don't know what's happening. Okay. It says we're back. I don't know, guys. I apologize. Apologize for the tech issues today. I literally don't know what's going on. I'm wired in, so it's not even a Wi-Fi signal. Clearly, my internet provider must just be having issues. They must be having some issues. Okay. Back to your guys' free questions for now. Apologize about that. I'm not sure where it left off, so if the answer gets chopped off, it's whatever. Javier Culper, even with that price, PSVR 1 must-buy accessories for PS camera and Move controllers, and all of that at launch was like $570. This is a better device. High-end, includes 2-sense controllers at $550. Thoughts? Thanks. Javier, I think you're pretty much right. I don't think that PSVR 2 is badly priced for what you're getting. Right? You never saw me tweet that out. Right? Whenever I was saying I think it's going to be a challenge for them, like I mentioned, PSVR 1 wasn't a smash success, so the bar for this needs to be much higher than PSVR 1. If it sells the exact same as PSVR 1, Sony will see that as a failure. I'm telling you that right now. They're going to internally look at it and say, wow, we had zero growth for VR. This was a failure. They want it to sell better. So I do 100% agree, Javier, that actually for the value, for what you're getting, this is a better value. I really do believe that. I think like you're getting a... Because the tech in PSVR 1, I'm just going to be real, not very good. It's not very good. I had a PSVR 1, played some stuff on it. It was cool, but it wasn't that great. My Oculus Quest 2 is way, way better in terms of like what it feels like to play games on that than it did on PSVR 1. I think this is going to feel like an enormous leap over PSVR 1. Tech-wise, it is not overpriced for what you're getting. The big question with it is just if it's going to be accepted by consumers at this price, right? That's the question. So I agree with you. I don't think the price is insane for what you're getting. It's just, is there going to be enough people willing to buy it at that price? We don't know. We just don't know. We'll have to see, right? We're just going to have to watch it. I think we had a couple super chats come in. Highlander001 with a 5. Wait till they found out you're not a console warrior. How was you and your daughter's Halloween? She have a good haul. I think that they'll be okay with that. I think the new followers will be okay with that because Nebellion was not either. So if people are coming from Nebellion to follow me, he didn't do console wars either. So I think they'll be pretty okay with that because I'm going to be very, very similar in that regard to Nebellion. So I think they'll be all right with that side of things. Daughter's Halloween was great. She dressed up twice. One is Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon. And then the other time she dressed up as Minnie Mouse. So she got a ton of candy. She loves Disney. She's a Disney girl. And of course, literally every year since she's born, she only wants to dress up as Disney characters. So she did one as Minnie Mouse and then one as Raya. And I hope your daughter had a great Halloween too, Highlander, because I know that you are a girl dad like myself. I hope she had an awesome Halloween too. George Corona III with a 5 super chat. Stray on PS Plus seems like an outlier for day one games. Yeah, and it was super successful. It looked like at that. I know that's not PS priority, but that seems misleading now. Think more third-party day ones to come. George Corona, I think they absolutely should. Stray, to me, from an outside observer, we never got hard data on that, like how many people played it through Plus. But considering how big it was on Steam, that game did unbelievable for an indie game, to be honest with you. Like, absolutely incredible, the numbers. It was over 50,000, if I'm remembering right, concurrent players on Steam. That's insane for an indie game, guys. That's like top tier for an indie title. And that was on a platform you had to pay for. So on Plus, I would think that there was a lot of people playing that as well. George Corona, I know that Sony is still very against the idea of putting their big AAA third-party games day one on the service, but I think they do need to do more of what you're saying here. These Stray-sized games. They need to do more partnerships like that with day one on Plus if they really want to increase that subscriber count. I agree with you, George. They need to do more of it. I think they had one other one too. Shadow Warrior, right? Is that right? Shadow Warrior 3 or something like that. Another not like, big AAA game, but it's still a cool game. They need some of that. If they're not going to put their day one, if you're not going to get God of War Ragnarok day one on the service, okay, whatever, that's fine. I'm not saying Sony has to do that, but I think they do need to do stuff on that Stray size, some partnerships like that to make it even more attractive. Because if they had even one of those a month, I think that actually helps a lot, right? It's still not going to be necessarily the level of what Game Pass does, but it doesn't have to be the exact same thing as Game Pass. If you knew, hey, if I'm subscribed to this tier, I'm still going to get, at least one of these Stray-sized games every single month, not counting the free games, right, that you get with just the basic tier. We're talking about like a day one launch on the higher tier. If you had one of those a month, even that would help. And thank you for that super chat, George. All right, Eber Romero. Benji, what do you think of Sony's financial results? After the earnings call, Sony stock was up by more than 12%, reported by Bloomberg, so investors were happy. My other question is, PS Plus subs before pandemic, PS Plus subs were 34 to 36 million. After pandemic, were like 48 million. Little by little, the sub count is dropping. After the revamp, the service is much, much better. Extra has like 20 games per month added, and good games, not garbage games. I agree with you. Like I was saying earlier, I think that catalog is worth it to a lot of people that don't buy like a ton of games day one. Why do you think the 2 million subs drop happened? I think we went over that part. They explained it by PS4 primarily. People in the Twitter bubble is mocking Sony because they said people is going outdoors. No, that is true. And fanboys are saying Sony said people is touching grass. But according to data, that's reality. It is. That's why you saw Microsoft declining as well. Not Game Pass, but they also declined overall. What is your opinion? Even Sony said in the call they will need more promoting the service. PS4 engagement is going down, etc., etc. So my overall thoughts on the PlayStation earnings, I wasn't super blown away by them, but they weren't like the worst thing in the world ever. They were just kind of underwhelming, similar to Microsoft, right? And that's exactly what I tweeted, because whenever I covered Xbox's earnings, I had some PlayStation fans talking about how like it was such a bad result and everything, and I said in the replies, I was like, guys, expect very, very similar from PlayStation. And that's what we had. Very, very similar results in terms of declines. Very, very similar. And in fact, you could argue, and I hate doing this console war stuff, but you could argue Microsoft actually might have had slightly better earnings for Xbox than Sony did for PlayStation in regards to They were actually up on hardware year over year, and Sony was flat. So, I don't like doing console wars. I like talking to each of these businesses individually, but they're very similar earnings is how I would put it. The Xbox earnings, they were fine. They weren't like impressive, and they weren't the end of the world. Sony's were basically the same. Didn't blow my hair back. Well, I don't have hair. Didn't blow me away, but also wasn't the end of the world. They were just sort of there, right? Hardware was flat, software was down, subscribers barely down, but slightly, monthly active users slightly down. Like, it was just, an okay result. I think this holiday will actually be pretty good. I think you're going to see a pretty strong fourth quarter because I think hardware is going to be up by quite a bit. I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and God of War Ragnarok will sell a ton of software, so that should help the software side a lot. So I think this next quarter, Eber is going to look pretty good. This past quarter, just kind of meh. It was just kind of meh. And in regards to like why they declined, Sony wasn't like making stuff up. It's true. Things have changed a bit post-pandemic. You're seeing all the gaming companies talk about it. And the real problem, Eber, the literal real problem for the gaming industry right now is third-party AAA. It's a disaster. It's a disaster this year. I have some people sometimes try and like correct me when I say that, and they name like 2 or 3 really cool games that came out, and 2 or 3 games does not make a year, guys. Elden Ring was awesome. You should be having a lot more than just an Elden Ring, right? It's been a terrible year for third party. Nintendo's had a great year. Sony first party pretty solid, right? You got like 4 solid first party games this year, right? You got The Last of Us, you got Gran Turismo, Horizon, and God of War. So even first party pretty good. It's really that third party AAA. It's been a disaster. It's been a disaster of a year for third party AAA. That's going to improve a lot next year. Next year will be much, much, much better. Kyo, Sony is aiming a lot of consoles for holidays. Absolutely, it's going to be huge. And a lot of consoles for next year. If I'm not wrong, they want to surpass PS4 in every sense of the word by fiscal year 2023. Predictions, could Sony produce 23 million or more consoles? The new consoles reported by Tom Henderson with the detachable will help. Thank you. So their goal for this fiscal year right now is over 18 million. They're still very confident in that, by the way, which is interesting. Kyo, the reason this is interesting, why they're still very confident that they're going to do over 18 million this fiscal year, that does say exactly like what you're saying here. They're expecting a massive holiday season. Because how do I know that? Because it's not tracking for 18 million right now. If you look at what they've shipped right now, they are not on pace to hit 18 plus million. So the fact they still think they're going to do 18 plus million this fiscal year, that tells you they're planning a massive holiday. They think they're going to send a ton of consoles this holiday. So you could see some pretty shockingly strong results from Sony if that's true, because they think they're going to hit it. They reiterated that again. This would have been the quarter to say they're not going to do it. If they really thought they weren't going to hit 18 million plus, this would have been the quarter to say it, because this was the earnings right before you go into that holiday. So this would be the time where you're most confident you're going to hit that number or not. So this would have been the one to be like, guys, we have to adjust. We're not going to hit that 18. The fact they still say we're very confident should be a huge holiday for PlayStation, which is going to be interesting. Do I think that they can like truly catch back up to the PS4 and surpass it? They need to have a very strong next year. They need to really have a good next year. And third party is going to help a lot. Kyo, I think they can gain back on PS4 if this holiday, if they really hit 18 plus million for this fiscal year, they can do it. But, they're going to have to keep that up. They can't just have a one-off where we gained a bunch of ground back on PS4. It's going to have to be that the next fiscal year has to be very, very good as well. I would say if they don't, let's say they miss that 18 million this year, because they have missed some of their forecasts before, it just starts to get more and more and more challenging to get there. It really needs to happen. If they hit that number this fiscal year, Q, I think they can do it. But they got to hit that. They got to hit that 18 plus million. I think we just had a super chat hit. We did. Benji here with another super chat. Benji, I think that's your second one. Benji, should Blizzard Activision only focus on Modern Warfare and Black Ops games? Vanguard did poorly. Is the rumored the advanced Call of Duty a good idea? Benji, here's what I will say. They need to completely abandon World War I and World War II for a long period of time. That's the biggest issue. And I said that literally back when Vanguard got announced. Like straight up, I said as soon as Vanguard was announced, I was like, this is a mistake. Should not have done it. And I proved to be 100% right on that one, guys. I'm not always right? I never come on this chat and I never tell you guys I'm the best analyst in the world and I know everything and all my predictions are great, because I miss stuff sometimes too. That was one where I was like, this is a mistake. You should not be going back to World War II already. And look what happened. It by Call of Duty standards, guys, I don't know if like a lot of people in the mainstream know this, it was a colossal failure financially. I mean, that was the biggest bomb this franchise has had since probably Call of Duty 4. In regards to and Call of Duty 4 wasn't a bomb, but I'm saying, you know what I mean by that far back. Yes, worse than Infinite Warfare. In terms of expectations to sales, Vanguard is a colossal failure. There's no other way around it. And too many World War games happened too short of time. You had Call of Duty World War II come out, then you had Battlefield 1 come out, then you had Battlefield, whatever the other one was that was a World War II game, and then you had Vanguard, which was a World War II game. There was way too much in a 5-year stretch. It was just constant World War games. They need to not make another World War Call of Duty game for I'm not exaggerating, 6 or 7 years if they go back to it. That needs to be on the back burner for a long time. No more Call of Duty for quite a while. World War for quite a while. I'm not going to say they can never go back to it, but there was way too many World War games in a short period of time. It just burned everyone out. Everyone got burned out on the setting. So I don't know that they need to only do Black Ops and Modern Warfare. Obviously, those are two brands that carry the most weight, so they should continue to do that. Obviously, we're going to get Modern Warfare 3. This is the biggest Call of Duty of all time. Obviously, they're going to make another Black Ops game because people really like the Black Ops titles. It's not that they need to only focus on that, but they need to not do any more World War games. They need to stay far away from that for quite a while. So we'll have to see what else they can play with, outside of Modern Warfare and Black Ops. Some of the other settings that are rumored are fairly controversial. There's a rumor they're going to be doing the Gulf War. I'd be very interested to see how people respond to that. I feel like it could be a very touchy one to cover. There's some rumors that that's actually the next Call of Duty game, that it is a Gulf War game, in Iraq and stuff. So that I feel like could be very controversial. We'll have to see. But specifically, my main thought, stay away from World War. You need no more World War I or II games for some significant time. You need people to get nostalgic for that setting again. I know nostalgic around war sounds weird, but you know what I mean for that setting for gameplay. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. Target has a Black Friday sale on Xbox Series S with a free copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Microsoft with a free Series SX upgrade. Does this violate Sony's Activision marketing rights? No, it does not, because technically it's a retailer deal. So that is the workaround. You saw Microsoft do this, by the way, with the original Destiny. This is just them being very smart. Now, it is against the rules if Microsoft themselves were packaging this, right? Because it's not packaged. You don't look at the Xbox box and it doesn't say Call of Duty on it. It's just a flat, white, basic Xbox Series S, and then the retailer includes Call of Duty with it. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a partnership with Microsoft. Basically, what Microsoft's probably doing here is they're paying the difference to Target for that game, but it's not marketed by Microsoft. Microsoft is doing zero marketing on this, right? It is Target that's doing the marketing, and it's not advertised on the Xbox box. Technically, you can do this. Like I said, I worked for GameStop at the time when Destiny came out. And Sony had that big Destiny bundle, right? Where it was the white PS4 and it was, all advertised on Sony. Microsoft on Destiny launch week ran a deal with GameStop where if you bought an Xbox One at the time, you could get Destiny for free with it. So they've done this before. It's very, very smart. It's a bit of a loophole, But you can do this. It's just you can't advertise it. The retailer has to advertise it. So GameStop's got to be the one advertising it in the case of Destiny, or it's got to be, Target in the case of Call of Duty that's being the one that's advertising this deal. Microsoft themselves can't put it on the box. Boom, here's a box and there's a slip on it that says get Call of Duty for free. That would be against the marketing deal. They could not do that. All right. Super chats are cleared. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to go for about 15 more minutes, and then I got to go because I got to go to work today. So you got about 15 more minutes of questions, and then I got to go, guys. DF, tomorrow is the big day for God of War. Already seen some reviewers eagerly tweeting that they want to talk now about God of War, seeing as well a lot of marketing for God of War, Twitter streets, videos, etc. You have been predicting this game as a juggernaut, but can't even surpass your predictions, Benji. What's your Metascore prediction, sales in the first week, and Game of the Year versus Elden Ring? So I have to be careful what I say about reviews, because I've talked to a few reviewers. So I got to be very careful about what I say on that. Very careful. All I will say is I will stick by my prediction that I said last time, where I do not think this will review as well as God of War 2018. That's all I'm going to say. Still expect good reviews. So don't take that as me saying Benji says this game's not going to review well. It's not what I'm saying at all. I will be very surprised if this hits 94 on Metacritic like God of War 2018. That's all I'm going to say. Very surprised. Now, in regards to sales, it is going to launch enormous. Yes, all of the metrics right now look off the charts for God of War Ragnarok, whether that's people viewing stuff on YouTube, whether that's blowing up on Twitter. Yes, so in terms of, like I said, reviews, I'm going to stick exactly with what I said before. Strong reviews, but not as high as God of War 2018. I don't think it's going to hit 94 Metacritic. And I won't be surprised if it's 90, but I don't think it's doing 94 again. That's all I'll say. And then in regards to like total sales, great. Legs, we don't know. We're just going to have to see. Legs is the thing I'm always a little nervous to talk about because people a lot of times want to ask me, how's the game going to sell lifetime? I got no idea. You don't know how a game's going to sell lifetime until you look at its legs like 6, 8, 9, 10 months after launch. But in terms of like launch, should be enormous. I really think this is going to hit over 3 million in 3 days, even with the limited PS5 install base. I do think it will launch bigger than God of War 2018. I do not know, though, if it can beat The Last of Us 4 million in 3 days. That is a crazy high number for an exclusive. It's very, 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 very high bar for an exclusive. So we'll have to see. I'm not going to tell you it's impossible it breaks 4 million in 3 days, but that is a lot. That's a hard bar. It could. You never know. But Last of Us set a really high bar there. So, but I do think it can hit 3+ million. I do think so. And 4 million wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be like, I can't believe this happened. It's just that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. That's a very high bar to hit. All right, didn't miss any super chats. That's good. Casual Gamer. Oh, and then prediction, Game of the Year versus Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring will still take it, yeah. I'm actually pretty confident in that, yeah. Pretty confident Elden Ring takes Game of the Year. Now, some people will give God of War Ragnarok their Game of the Year. Absolutely. I'm not telling you that no one's going to take, God of War Ragnarok won't win any Game of the Year awards. It's going to win a lot. But if I predict which will be the more consensus, unless the reviews surprise me a bit, it'll be Elden Ring. Casual Gamer. Benji Boy. Crash and Spyro games sell the most on PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. Do you think Microsoft will keep those franchises multi-platform fascinating? Or do you think they will become exclusive to Xbox? They said they intend on keeping Call of Duty multi-platform forever, so I'm curious, don't you think it is in Microsoft and Activision's best interest to keep kid-friendly titles multi-plat? It would not surprise me if those stay multi-plat. Casual Gamer, the main thing that I have said, I think that any new IP you see out of Activision Blizzard is going to be exclusive. So that new Blizzard survival game that they're making, I do not think you'll see that on PlayStation. Assuming this deal closes, right? Assuming the deal closes, I will be very surprised if Blizzard's new IP is on PlayStation. I fully expect that to be on Xbox, PC, and cloud only. let's just say one of Activision studios makes a new IP, not the Blizzard side, but Activision, very doubtful you'll see that on PlayStation. Franchises that are already super established. Now, we have seen this not be the case for Bethesda, where Elder Scrolls is exclusive. But Activision Blizzard makes a lot of multiplayer. And Elder Scrolls is a single-player game. They make a lot of, Diablos, which have huge online components. They make a lot of Call of Duties, which are all about the online. They make a lot of Overwatch. They make a lot of, see what I'm getting at? World of Warcraft. These are like, Activision Blizzard's output is like 90% multiplayer. So I suspect a lot of those franchises might actually stay multi-platform because, as you mentioned, there's just way more money to be made on a multiplayer game being multi-platform. So I wouldn't be surprised there. Now, Crash and Spyro, that to me can go either way because these are not super expensive games to make. So even if they lose the PlayStation and Switch sales, it's kind of whatever. They're not spending $100 million to make a Crash Bandicoot game. So I don't know. Casual gamer, it could go either way. On the family-friendly games, I literally have no idea. That could go either way to me. I don't think Microsoft's crazy if they make them exclusive to attract people to Game Pass. Because like I said, these aren't very expensive games. Trust me, you're not going to drop $100 million on Spyro or Crash. So you don't need this to be a gargantuan seller. So on one hand, it could be attractive as an exclusive. But at the same time, it will sell more on PlayStation and Switch probably than Xbox if you release it. So could go either way, casual. I have no idea. That one I could see either way. But I don't think you're going to see Overwatch go exclusive ever. I don't think you're going to see Call of Duty go exclusive ever. Those sort of games don't make any sense since they're just multiplayer games. I know Call of Duty has a campaign, but let's be real. 90% of people that are playing Call of Duty are playing it for the multiplayer. DangerMan1337, what's up, DangerMan? Benji, with VR2 price and specs along with the DualSense Edge, do you think Sony really is pushing a PS5 Pro? Feels like a Pro would actually max the VR2 out with current AAA games. DangerMan, like I've said before, I absolutely think the plan was to have Pro consoles, but I do not know if it's... I literally don't know if it's possible. Because pricing. The technology is going to be there. Dude, I just don't know, DangerMan. Do you see the prices on this stuff? Sony is still not profitable on PS5, by the way. Some of us were wondering, are they profitable? It strictly says in their earnings this quarter, they still are not selling the PS5 itself for a profit. And we are 2 years into the cycle, and it is still losing money on hardware sold. And Phil Spencer recently came out and said Xbox Series X and S are also sold at a loss 2 years after launch. I literally, and these are $500 consoles. So what? You're going to launch a Pro at $800? I just don't know if it's feasible, DangerMan. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you it's not going to happen. I'm literally not going to tell you that. I just don't know. I don't know how they're going to make it work economically. I just don't know how they're going to do it. It's these consoles are not coming down in price at all. In fact, they're going up, right? We saw PS5 get more expensive. So I don't know, DangerMan. I don't know. This to me is a big question mark. If they could do it and they could do it and they could make it make economic sense, I have zero question they would launch Pro consoles. I've talked about it on this chat before. It accounted for roughly 20% of their monthly sales, give or take a bit on the Pro and the One X. Might not sound like a ton, but late in the console's life cycle, if you're able to add another 20% onto your monthly sales, 20%, I mean, that's not nothing small. So if they could make it work, like if the economics worked and they weren't going to launch an $800 console, they would do Pros. DangerMan, I literally don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it out. We'll see, though. We'll have to see. Eddie Brock, Herman Holst said there's around 25 first-party titles currently in development in various stages of development. I'm curious, do you think that's enough for an entire generation or need more? Well, keep in mind, you said that a bit ago, right? It's been a while now. I'm sure that there's even more than that now. Studios are always starting and ending other games. So 25 would equal what? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 20. That would equate to about 4 games a year if we assume that and I know that it's give or take, guys. but that would account for roughly 4 first-party games a year if this generation has 6 more years in it, if we say it's an 8-year generation, because I think some of us think this is going to be a pretty long cycle. 4 games a year is okay for first-party. That's fine. It's basically a game a quarter. So, you know what? That honestly enough, but it depends. It depends on the scope of these games. I don't think all 25 of these first-party games are God of War level games. So it also depends a bit on the scope. So we'll see. But I have a feeling it's going to be more than that in the long run. That was just at the time, whenever he said it. JCat saying hello. What is up, JCat? Thanks for helping mod the channel and being awesome, JCat. Not DQ. Hope you're doing well, Benji. What do you think about the recast of The Witcher? Oh, that's a good question. We haven't talked about this. And what will happen with the IP? I appreciate your work. Listening to you helped me improve my English. Not DQ. That's like one of the coolest things someone said to me on this chat. Dude, you guys say a lot of cool comments. Knowing that listening to me helped improve your English, that is super cool. I don't know if I'm the one you want to learn English from, not DQ, but that's super cool, man. I'm so happy to hear that I was able to help you work on your English. That's very cool. That is a very cool thing to me. I'm so happy for that, not DQ. Now, in terms of recasting Henry Cavill, this is a disaster. It really is. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Liam Hemsworth is not going to be able to do a good job, guys. So when I say it's a disaster, you guys know me. I'm not the king of hot takes, right? I don't like to come out and immediately say something is doomed or something is like the end of the world. But it's a disaster in terms of PR. And there's just no way around it. This hit #1 trending in US. #1, guys. It's not insanely hard to trend on Twitter. It's still got to be a pretty big topic, but hitting #1 is a pretty big deal. Anytime you see something hit #1 trending, that's pretty big. For this to hit #1 trending, and it wasn't #1 trending for a good reason. It was #1 trending because there's everyone upset about it. Not good. Not DQ, I'm going to be real with you. I think you're going to see both season 3 of The Witcher take a massive hit in viewers, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, why am I going to keep watching this now that Henry's gone? Like, announcing this before the season even airs is really bad. I think a lot of people are going to be like, I'm just not going to watch it now. So there's already that. And then even from season 3 to season 4, I think you would see a gigantic hit in viewers for season 4. And again, maybe Liam Hemsworth knocks this out of the park and maybe they can recover. You never know, right? We don't know until it happens. Maybe Liam Hemsworth comes out here and gives an Emmy-winning performance in season 4 and it turns everyone's opinions around and people get back on the show. So I'm not going to tell you that that's impossible. We just don't know. We don't know until it happens. But my one thought, not DQ, the thing I am very confident in, I think this hurts season 3 of The Witcher very bad, and season 4 initially as well. And it will have to be an incredible performance from Liam Hemsworth to turn this around, because people love Henry Cavill in this role. I've seen a lot of people saying that they even think he's a better Geralt than he is Superman. Now, not everyone's going to feel that way. I'll be honest, I kind of feel that way too. And I really like his Superman. This isn't a knock on Henry Cavill's Superman. I think he's a great Superman. But if, like, you gave me a choice, Benji, which one do you think he's actually better at? I think he's a better Geralt. I think he's amazing as Geralt. So this is a huge blow. They wanted this show to be like 7 seasons. Like, that was the plan, and they were like pretty in on it because this show's been a huge success for them in terms of viewership. And now I'll be surprised if it makes it past season 4, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's not good, not DQ. This is not good. Not good at all. Sometimes you can get away with a recast. I don't know that Henry Cavill's Geralt is one you can get away with, but we'll see. Samir is saying, hello from India. Hello to you in India, Samir. Great to see you. From Eric, how was your meeting with Kojima? JK. Yeah, this is hilarious. I keep getting tagged just every time he posts Woodkid. It's all Benji-Sales, 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 Benji-Sales. It's funny. We don't look just alike. We definitely have some differences in look. But I can see why, like, when people, like, cursory glance at him, they're like, wait, is that Benji? Like, once you look a little closer, you see the differences between us. But, you know, he's got the beard. He wears the hat. somewhat similar facial structures. It's pretty funny. It is cracking me up because it's literally every time Kojima posts a picture with Wood Kid, I get a ton of tags. It's so funny. All right, one or two more and I gotta go, guys. JCat saying, are those special editions I have behind me? They are. It's the Last of Us Part 1 Collector's Edition, the Firefly Edition, and it is the Bayonetta 3, whatever it's called, Trinity Masquerade Edition. Yep, that's those behind me. At some point, I'm going to rearrange this room to where it looks better. I know my stream is very, very basic. I'm going to get like the whole shelf behind me and like the collector's editions up there and stuff. You know, just something a little cooler to look at than just a big empty room behind me. But yeah, that's what those two are. They're Last of Us Firefly and Bayonetta 3 Trinity Masquerade. One or two more, and I got to go. Let me make sure no super chats have been missed. No super chats have been missed. Good. One or two more. Let's see. Adi, have you seen the Spider-Man on PC outsold all their previous ports in 2 months? Pretty nice. Yeah, great. Spider-Man PC did fantastic for them. Already the best-selling PC PlayStation release. That's incredible. Miles Morales should do great. If you're a PC player that has not played Miles Morales before, guys, there's not a more perfect holiday season game than this. The last 2 years, I have played Miles Morales, and I'm not joking, guys. I think I'm going to do it again this year. I feel like this is my tradition game now. I've never had a Christmas tradition for a game. I might play this game every year. You know, some people like watch a movie every year, right? Whether that's A Christmas Story or It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. It's just, the vibes are so good. And it's a fairly short game. Like if you just focus on just the story, not doing side content, you can move through it pretty quick. You know, a day or two, just focusing on the story. It's so good. So great for Spider-Man. And if you haven't played Miles Morales yet on PC, guys, I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's so good. It's a perfect holiday season game. Peter420, you should do a Patreon simply because it's still investing your time and content for everyone to watch. You could always do review videos and stuff like that too. Peter420, like I said, Patreon's coming. I probably won't do reviews because you have to know what you're good at and what you're not. And Peter, I think I would not make a great reviewer. And why do I say that? It's because I'll be real. I am a little too, to me, it's not an issue. But I think as a critical reviewer, it would be an issue. I'm a little too forgiving of games. Like, I like almost everything I play. Like, I am just one of those people. Some people are like that. It's pretty rare I play a game and I'm like, wow, that game, like, sucked. Like, I don't have a good enough critical eye. Now, there's always things with games that, like, you know, I don't like this aspect of the game or I don't necessarily like that aspect of the game. But I don't think that I am critical enough to make a good reviewer. A good reviewer needs to be able to do that, right? They need to be able to be like, see the good in the game, but also very much see the bad and be able to explain that. I would be one of those reviewers. You know, everyone makes a joke about how, like, you know, reviews and video games only use like the 8 to 10 scale. It's like an 8, 9, or 10. I would fall into that trap. Like, a ton of my reviews would just be like really high scores. I don't have a good enough critical eye for reviews. There's some stuff I'm good at. I don't think I'd make a great reviewer, though, to be honest with you. Publishers would love me because it'd just be lots of great scores. Publishers would be like, make sure Benji gets a code because he's going to give us a good review. Give Benji the code. We know we'll get an 8, 9, or 10 from him. All right, last one. I'm going to do one more and I got to go. Just a quick comment from JCat, and I agree with it. Microsoft will probably go on an acquisition spree as soon as the Activision thing closes. I agree with you. I don't think you're going to see another like billions and billions of dollar purchase like we're seeing here. I do think that shortly afterwards, there's going to be a couple more studios they've had their eyes on that they want to snatch really fast. And then you might see them really slow down. But I have a feeling there's a couple studios they've had their eyes on that they're like, dang it, we can't get it right now. I think you'll see them very quickly afterwards be like, boom, 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 boom. And then you might see a long wait because they will have so much at that point. But there might be a couple more, just really quick rapid fire afterwards. Last question. One more question. I got to go. I wish I could stream for longer, guys, but I have to go to work. My stomach's growling out. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm hungry. Jonathan Schuler, I don't disagree with you here. I don't get the issues with the price. All in all, it's the same as the original. For the specs, it's a great deal. I agree. I actually don't think it's overpriced for what you're getting. Just like we said, it's just a question of if the overall, like, general gaming landscape will be willing to spend that much. I do agree with you. I don't think it's a ripoff for what you're getting in terms of quality. Absolutely not. I really don't think so. The big question is just, is enough people going to be willing to spend that kind of money? You know what I mean? That's the big question. Peter, nice comment. You nailed it, Benji. Sony must support PSVR 2 with first-party games. Yep, that's the big key here. If they don't, they won't hit 10 million units because Experiences was last gen. This time it needs to be full-fledged games. Peter, software's key. Yep, absolutely. Software's key. JCat, Nibelian has a lot of followers. The problem is that you can't monetize Twitter. Yeah, it's the bummer. I love building my following on Twitter. I don't think about... I always feel weird using the word followers, because to me it creates a weird power dynamic. Like, I know it's not, but like a follower, I don't really like that word. Like, I kind of wish they called it something else. I don't really know what it would be, but I don't, you know what I mean? It just sounds weird. I always feel weird saying followers. But, yeah, Nibelian had a lot, but it is a problem that you can't monetize on Twitter at all. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I would love to make a living not having to go to retail every day and being able to get some kind of money from Twitter for it. Twitter does have a lot of problems. I don't know if what Elon Musk is doing is the right answers. We'll have to see, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to get on some trip here about Elon Musk. I just don't know. I don't know if what he's proposing is going to be the right answers in the end. Twitter does have a lot of issues. I've talked about before, one main problem with the Twitter verification process is it is quite literally the only social media platform that rewards you more for what you do off-site than on-site. That to me is just an automatic issue. I've always thought it was weird. The week before Nibelian blocked me, I was defending him on this chat, saying that I think he should be verified, and I thought it was crazy that someone with as big of reach of him wouldn't be verified. I think Shinobi should be verified. Like, I think the people that drive engagement to your platform should be getting verified. Like, what are you doing? How does, and this is not an insult, guys, because I know a ton of people that don't have huge following counts that are verified, and they deserve to be verified. I'm not saying journalists don't deserve to be verified. One thing that's absolutely insane to me, though, is the amount of accounts that get verified that aren't driving a ton of engagement on Twitter, for better or worse, and then like huge accounts that are generating tons of visits to your platform, tons of engagement to your platform. The people that are bringing in people, there's a lot of them that can't get verified. Like, what are you doing, Twitter? Like they did have some legit massive problems. Regardless of if Elon's going to be able to fix it or not, like, there is no debate. Twitter is, I believe, one of the worst run social media platforms in existence, simply because it's the only social media platform that does zero to reward its own content creators, while other platforms do, whether it's TikTok, Facebook. There's reward systems in place on all of these platforms for the people that are driving interest to the platform. Twitter was like the opposite. Like, we don't care. We don't care that you're driving tens and hundreds of millions of impressions on our platform. You know, the check mark is, in the grand scheme of things, a little thing, but how are these huge accounts not being able to get verified and someone that has a very small following can? That to me is kind of crazy, to be honest with you. So yeah, I felt bad that Nibelian couldn't monetize it. And we'll have to see what happens. You know, I'd love to be able to, I'm not a huge person, but I'd love to be able to get some money from Twitter, you know, for how much I'm on there, but it is what it is. Okay, I got to go, but I want to end on an actual gaming question. Because I didn't mean to end there. Highlander here with the super chat, and then one gaming question and we're gone. Your thoughts on the next Black Panther? Chadwick Boseman will always be my king. I am a colon cancer survivor. I think it's going to be pretty incredible. A lot of the impressions are pretty incredible. I know a lot of people were upset that they did not recast T'Challa, because he is, you know, that character means so much to so many people. So I know there was a lot of people that were pretty upset about that I totally understand the thought of honoring Chadwick Boseman's memory and not just, recasting immediately to honor everything that he did for so many people by playing that character. I would love to see T'Challa come back in some way in the future with a different actor, but I think in the immediate follow-up movie, this might be the best choice to not recast for a movie because, it's Marvel. They can always find a way to bring a new T'Challa in. I would actually be totally okay with that. They could do a variant or something since it's a multiverse. I know so many people care about that character, so I do hope T'Challa comes back in some way at some point. But I think for the second movie, not recasting to honor his memory, I think that actually probably, I haven't seen it yet, but that's probably the right call. And then maybe in the future we can get a new T'Challa. And yeah, Highlander, I know you've mentioned before you're a colon cancer survivor. I'm so happy that you beat it. That's amazing. Very happy, Highlander. Okay, last one. Last video game question and we got to go. Sorry about my dog. He's going crazy. Sorry, trying to find it. Bigelow, we'll just end on this. What do you think of Eidos Montreal co-development with Xbox on Fable and the same with Crystal Dynamics with Perfect Dark? We talked about like the business sense, but what does it actually mean? My thoughts on it. In the sense of Perfect Dark, it makes a lot of sense to me because the initiative was a brand new studio and they're pretty small studio. And it sounds like the plan was always to have somebody else come in and help with that. That's something that's been reported several times. They always were going to have another studio come. So that one's not that weird. I will say that Eidos Montreal and Fable is a little weird. I don't know when that studio came in on Fable, but if they're coming in now, that game's been in development for a long time. So I would say it sounds like Playground may be in a bit over their heads a bit. And whenever I say that, guys, to be clear, I'm not saying that that game is doomed or it's a bad game. I'm just saying this is the first time Playground has ever made an RPG like this. It may just be a little bit bigger than what they anticipated taking on whenever they started doing this. So it is interesting. It's very interesting. We'll have to see. Sorry about my dog. This is insane. He's going nuts. Okay, guys, I got to call it there. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of the super chats today. They were very, very generous. If you were new here, from all the new followers that came in on Twitter, thank you so much. I hope you like doing the chat. We're going to do one of these every single week. Every week I do one of these. Super interactive. A lot of fun. We break down the latest news in the video game industry. Stay safe. Play some games. And I will catch you guys either here on Twitter very, very, very soon, or I will see you on YouTube next week. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. You're amazing. Thanks for all the support. It's been out of control lately, crazy. I don't talk about my growth much, but it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. My goal, I thought I was setting an ambitious goal when I was at 30,000 at the beginning of this year to hit 50,000 by the end of the year. Now it's looking like I might hit 60,000 by the end of the year. Crazy. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a good one. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, 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 bye.